A co-defendant called to the stand during a resentencing trial last week shook up the courtroom when he tried to change his testimony from a previous trial. Bruce Nixon is one of the men convicted in the murder of Reggie and Carol Sumner. The Jacksonville couple were kidnapped, robbed, and buried alive in 2005. Two of the men convicted of the crimes are being resentenced because the jury didn't unanimously recommend the death penalty. News4Jax reporter Marilyn Parker joins us live from the Duval County Courthouse. Marilyn, there is a chance the defense could call Nixon back to the stand tomorrow?
Yeah, that could happen. You know, the defense is working on keeping the jury from being unanimous. And after Bruce Nixon tried to go back on his statements, that could either help or hurt their case. Bruce Nixon was convicted of that murder. And I spoke with an attorney not affiliated with the case who says that could also hurt his deal as well. Judge Michael Weatherby visibly frustrated Thursday during a resentencing trial. It started when the state called co-defendant Bruce Nixon to the stand. He was convicted of the murder, kidnapping, and robbery of Reggie and Carol Sumner. When on the stand, the state says Nixon gave inconsistent answers to his previous statements in other trials.
I was on Xanax and methadone at that time, so in and out of consciousness, you know what I'm saying? So he filled in the blanks for me and told me what to say. You know what I'm saying? I was guided into my testimony.
The judge says Nixon exposed himself to perjury. And they took him off the stand, though the defense wanted him to stay for cross-examination, which caused some back and forth. Attorney Gene Nichols, not affiliated with the case, says the judge was trying to keep control of the courtroom after Nixon's curveball.
You can obviously expect that the state attorney's office is going to argue that Mr. Nixon is not a truth teller, don't believe anything he has to say.
How do we proceed with this when the defense attorneys said flat out they plan to call Nixon back this week?
It could potentially make the defense case worse. Again, everybody's going to question and argue to the jury why this individual is giving testimony different than what he gave before.
He says the defense would have to argue people lied at previous trials and to encourage the jury not to give a death penalty in a case where people potentially lied.
The really hard part would be to no longer let Nixon testify. And if Nixon was not permitted to testify by the defense, if the defense calls him and the judge says no, easily create appellate issues, which is the last thing everybody wants in this case.
Nichols says the state will respond by leaning on the evidence presented in those trials, regardless of Nixon getting back on the stand or not. Now, on Thursday, the judge said he wanted Bruce Nixon to meet with someone to explain to Nixon what his responsibility and his role is as a witness called to the stand. Only way we'll find out if that has any effect is if Nixon is called back to the stand. Court picks up tomorrow at 10 a.m. We'll see what happens. Reporting live tonight, Marilyn Parker, Channel 4, the local station.